Trump and Zelensky met at the Vatican before Pope Francis's funeral. This was their first meeting since a heated exchange at the White House in February. Very symbolic meeting that has potential to become historic, Zelensky later wrote on X. Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met on Saturday, their first encounter since a heated exchange at the White House 2 months ago. The two leaders held a discussion inside St. Peter's Basilica ahead of the Pope's funeral, with French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer present during the initial moments. Zelensky and Trump had not met since their heated exchange in the Oval Office on February 28th, in which Trump said of Ukraine's war against Russia, "You're either going to make a deal or we're out." U.S. President Donald Trump pointing his finger at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while the pair sit on armchairs and talk. Trump and Zelensky's meeting in Rome was their first since their clash in the Oval Office on February 28th. Brian Snyder/Reuters. 4 days later, Trump announced a pause in U.S. military aid, and the EU declared an era of rearmament as it unveiled a defense funding boost. The Oval Office meeting was in the glare of the world's press, but photos of the Rome meeting show Trump and Zelensky seated close together, without aides or interpreters. Andriy Yermak, a senior aide to Zelensky, shared a photo of the leaders in St. Peter's Basilica on Telegram. "Constructive," and he wrote. Stephen Chung, White House Communications Director, called it a very productive discussion. Posting X, Zelensky said the encounter had been a good meeting. "We discussed a lot one-on-one, hoping for results on everything we covered. Protecting lives of our people, full and unconditional ceasefire, reliable and lasting peace that will prevent another war from breaking out. Very symbolic meeting that has potential to become historic if we achieve joint results," he said. The Rome meeting comes after Steve Witkoff, Trump's designated peace envoy, traveled to Moscow for discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kremlin advisor Yuri Ushakov said the talks centered on the possibility of resuming direct negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Following Witkoff's return, Trump said on Truth Social that most of the major points are agreed to, and that a ceasefire deal between Kiev and Moscow was very close. As he prepared to leave for Rome on Friday, Trump told reporters that the talks were very fragile. He has also warned that the U.S. might halt its mediation efforts if a deal isn't reached soon. After the meeting on Saturday, Zelensky was greeted with applause when he walked out of St. Peter's Basilica after paying his respects in front of the pontiff's coffin. Trump later wrote a long post on Truth Social in which he called the war in Ukraine, "Sleepy Joe Biden's war, not mine. It was a loser from day one." The long post ended. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities, and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along and has to be dealt with differently through banking or secondary sanctions. Too many people are dying.